I guess just to kind of give an understanding of how we've gotten to this point, we've known that the pension crisis is something that was going to have to be dealt with whenever Governor Bevin first came into office. That's really what Governor Bevin ran most of his campaign on whenever he ran in 2015 to be governor. And so as we went through the last budget cycle in 2016 and crafted that budget, we showed, I think, all of our pensioners across the state and all of our state employees that we had a commitment that we were going to live up to with putting in $1.2 billion of funding. That was the historic high that had never been put in before. That was the historic mark. So knowing that we had that crisis, knowing that we have about a $66 billion unfunded problem in the state of Kentucky, we made a commitment to the people of Kentucky and to our state employees as the governor, the House leadership, and Senate leadership that we're going to do what's necessary to make sure that we put our state retirement systems on a secure path so that whenever our state employees retire or those who are in retirement, they can make sure that they can count on that check. What the other commitment to that side of that coin is making sure that we're doing right by the taxpayers of this state. So the more and more that we put this problem off, the farther and farther down that our credit rating is going to go. And it's put us in a detrimental state as a state. And this crisis has gotten so big that we can no longer just sweep it under the rug. Whenever you look at what this means for the taxpayers of this state, it means that we're going to put, through this pension reform, our pension system in our state on a level foundation for the future, giving ourselves a great foundation so that we don't have to revisit this hopefully in the next 20 years. And when you look at this crisis, it's not something that was just brought up overnight. And it's not just a Kentucky problem. When you look at nationally, the unfunded liability and the defined benefit pension systems across the nation, we're somewhere between $4 and $5 trillion from the Wall Street Journal's report about 2 months ago in unfunded liabilities. And when you look at some of these systems individually, if you look at the county employee retirement system, in the year 2000, they had 160% funding in that system. As of today, as of 2016, they were at 60% funding. They've lost 100% funding over a 16-year period. And they did it right. They did the funding levels. They did all the things that they were supposed to that people are pointing to say that's the best funded system we have. And so even under the best circumstances, these systems are in broken scenarios. And so I think what we need to do, what we're looking at doing as a state, is we're looking at making sure that we're honoring the commitments that we've made to our state employees, that we're honoring the jobs that they do, that we're showing them that they have value and we care about them. Whether it's the teacher in the classroom, that maybe it's the only positive interaction that student gets on a daily basis, or whether it's somebody who's picking up dead animals on the side of the road for the state to make sure that whenever we drive by that there's not health hazards out there, or whether it's police officers that are running towards bullets in this state to protect us, that we want to make sure that they know that we care about them. And I think these reforms, when they're finished and whenever they're packaged up and out to the public, that they're going to see that we live up to that commitment, that we care about our public service employees. I think also what you're going to see is a commitment to the state taxpayers, including them, because those people pay taxes too, that we're going to make sure that we're meeting the commitments that we've made, but we also put our state on a level foundation for the future.
So what is the timeline over the next couple weeks? I know you guys have been meeting all together, having a lot of great discussions about what to do in this situation. But what's the timeline that you expect over the next couple weeks?
The only person in the state that can call a special session is the governor. I think that, on the words that our Speaker of the House said, we need to make sure that we get the bill written, and this is a monstrous bill whenever you look at the amount of work that goes into writing this. We have great employees at the Legislative Research Commission who are working on this on a daily basis. So once we get the bill written and we actually have the framework put in place to actually put it out, we would like in the House, and I know the Senate has said this as well, that we would like to have enough opportunity for our members to be able to look over the bill, to understand the bill, to be able to go out to their districts and get input on the bill, and then come into session and vote on it. And I think that whenever you're looking at that scenario, I don't have a specific date. The governor is the only one that can call the special session. But when you're looking at that scenario, I would say that we're anywhere from 30 to 60 days out, somewhere in that time frame, depending on exactly what date that it's called and when we finish up with getting the bill written. But right now we're kind of in that phase where we're going out and talking to groups about the ideas that have been put together to try and get input from them. So that we can really make this something that's bettering all of Kentucky. And that's really important to me. It's really important to our members in the House. It's important to our Speaker of the House, and Jeff Hoover, that we make sure that we get buy-in, that we get some of these groups, their understanding of where they are. But make no mistake, this is a crisis, and we have to do something about it. It is a big problem. And it's a problem for attracting business into the state. It's a problem for our current businesses. It's a problem for our current retirees. I mean, we may be within 5 years of pay-as-you-go as a state on these retirement systems if we don't end up doing something about it. And we're committed to making sure that we put ourselves in a level foundation for the future and honor what we can for our state employees, the ones that are out there doing this work on a daily basis.
So it does sound like you guys are close on a plan, and you expect the governor to kind of start talking about that in the next couple of weeks?
I'm hopeful. You know, we've been meeting about this. We had the PFM report that came out that kind of showed the extreme measures that can be taken irregardless of legal or moral obligations that we may have, just the extreme circumstances, what we could do on the extreme side of it, of taking it all the way to that side of the argument. That's been put out. We've been working under that framework to see what we can actually do through the legal framework, through what those changes actually mean to the bottom line. Whenever you're talking about the state budget in this next biennium, and whenever you're talking about our state revenues and the things that are going on. And so it's very intricate. It's a very complicated issue. It's a very complicated set of circumstances that we're wading through to make those decisions. And I'm very hopeful that within hopefully the next couple of weeks that we'll have some kind of definitive answer that we can tell the people of Kentucky this is what we're going to propose to be able to fix this problem.
Now, we've heard the House Speaker and a couple others say that clawbacks of COLAs, which was in the PFM report you just referenced, will not be on the table. Is that still the case?
Yeah. Whenever you look at the actual reforms that have been proposed through the PFM report, the clawbacks of the COLAs to our current state retirees, when you're looking at what that actually means, when you're looking at raw numbers and you start putting faces behind those numbers, we're talking about, I think the average state pension retirement today is about $22,000 a year. When you're talking about cutting 25% of $22,000 a year, you're putting people in a very, very tough situation. Some of those people who are between 70 and 85 years old currently, who are already struggling to pay for prescription drugs and the food that they actually get on these set incomes. And so there is nobody that we have talked to in the legislature or anybody who's making these decisions currently that want to claw back the COLAs on our state retirees. And I think that is something that, if you look at it, is off the table for this discussion and the pension reform package that we're going to be talking about.
Now, in these discussions, a lot of people that are watching this play out are retirees, are people who are currently in the system, and a lot of people have a lot to say about who is making these reforms. You guys also have pensions, and the legislative pension system is, people argue, higher funded. And so are you guys going to do any reforms to your system in a package of this?
When you look at the makeup now currently of the legislature that's there, in the House, 51 members of the House of Representatives were not there before 2013, including myself. There's not a single one of us up there that are going to be legislating on the fact that we care about the pensions that we have, and we're not there for these pensions. What you're going to find in people like myself and others who are there that are making these decisions is we want to make sure that we're meeting the obligations that we have to our state retirees and the taxpayers of this state. We could care less about the pensions that are in the legislative plan, but I can say pretty definitively that at the bare minimum, that legislative pension plan will have the same reforms that any other plan does at minimum. And there are things that we're working on to try and make sure that we gain the confidence back of the people of Kentucky, to make sure that they don't think that we're up in Frankfurt feathering our own nest the way that maybe in some previous legislatures that they were legislating for that reason. And I think you're going to see something that'll put confidence back into this state legislature from the people of the state.